this video, we are now going to go into the world of fats. If you remember from our previous videos, fats have some extremely important jobs. One of them is something like lubrication, joint spaces and sinuses, sending signals between nerve cells. All of these are extremely important places that fats will sit. So if you think about either these spaces in the body that require lubrication or things like your hormones that require fats to create their structure, the source of that fat becomes extremely important. If it's an anti-inflammatory fat, then it's going to help you create low inflammation in the body. It's going to help you create signals between nerve cells, reduce and create good mucus lining in your sinuses, for example, or help you keep your joints nice and lubricated. Similarly with hormones, they will work much better. They will work much more effectively when they have the proper healthy fat as their lining. So what defines a healthy fat? Well, it really comes down to three main categories of fats that I want you to learn to keep it simple. One category is called trans fats. These are extremely highly carcinogenic. They are carcinogenic and they are very, very important to keep away from your diet. Trans fats have actually been banned in the United States and many countries. So if you're seeing a label with anything about trans fats, I would highly recommend you avoid it. The one that is in the green box is unsaturated fats. Unsaturated fats come in a polyunsaturated and monounsaturated form. You may have heard this as PUFA and MUFA. Many times when you look at different oils or different omega-3 fatty acid supplements, they can be derived by unsaturated fats as well. Unsaturated fats are highly anti-inflammatory. They are going to be the best things you can do for lubrication and building your hormones. This includes things like nuts and seeds, avocados, fish, and even basic oils that come from vegetables. All of these things are going to really help you keep that lubrication and lining well supported. So when it comes to consumption of fats, I would still follow the same rule of thumb as we discussed in the carbohydrate discussion about caloric density, using these as more of a snack size or in moderation, but nonetheless keeping them in your diet. Now with saturated fats, unfortunately, saturated fats tend to be more inflammatory in the body. The one main exception that we've noted is going to be from coconut oil. Coconut oil, interestingly, does not create significant inflammation, especially when it's used in moderation. So with this one exception, otherwise, when you're taking vegetable fats and processing them, like things like condensed milk, and especially when you're taking animal fats, they tend to be very high in saturation content. All of these things you either really want to either cut down, cut out, or really, really consider consuming in moderation. In this next slide, I want to offer you a little bit of an understanding of where you might be getting your fats in the body. So a simple place would be the visceral fatty tissue. Visceral fatty tissue and your subcutaneous fatty tissue is consumed and composed of fats, of course. Now, these things, especially when it's visceral tissue, the one around organs, tends to be very, very inflammatory. And we really want to get rid of that as much as possible. And there are two big ways to do that. One is going to be through exercise and sweating, for example. But two is the consumption of fiber. The more fiber you consume, it actually helps your body get rid of some of these inflammatory fats as you excrete them in feces. Another way of getting insoluble fiber is also the best way of getting your healthy fats in your diet, the unsaturated fats, which come from what we call phytosterol sources. Here's a great list of foods that are high in phytosterols. This is especially important for women who are going through different major stages of life, like menopause or in childbearing age or menarche. Fats, because they play such a big role in terms of our hormones, really we need to be mindful of our intake and our sources. This is also especially true with men because it impacts their testosterone, for example. So when we talk about plant sterols, processing plant sterols or eating these things in an extremely processed form can also lead to inflammation. So the closer to the natural state you can get it, the better it is for you. And with animal sterols, so fats that come from animals, first and foremost, be mindful that it's mostly saturated fat. So you do want to get plenty of plant sterols to help you get rid of all of that excess saturated fat that came from your animal food. But the other piece to consider is the source. This is a very, very important piece, and we will discuss this in a future video in relationship to the source of your food. But as much as possible, try to lean towards organic practices or grass-fed foods. All of this reduces the amount of inflammatory fats that come into your body. I hope you found this video helpful, and I will see you in the next one.